to speak, but I don't know how long the euro will be around.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Next up is Green Meadow.
Hi, Jim. You have
Yes,
long
hello,
said
Green.
You have long said that you were in a bull market for tangible commodities and that a wise investment would be farmland. I mentioned this to my mother, and she told me that her grandfather told her to never invest in farming because it was too risky. Every season there's a chance to be wiped out. Currently, there's an increased talk of food shortages due to poor growing seasons. In much of the U.S., our farmland has been in either record drought or flooded out. South America had a cool late spring, which shortened their growing season. I think Russian wheat is going through a second year of drought. Canada is also having problems. How do you take weather into account when you're investing?
Well, I own the commodities themselves, so the more droughts, the better, from my point of view. Now, I say that tongue-in-cheek, obviously. Your great-grandfather was right. It is a dangerous, but your great-grandfather should have been around to learn about home building or subprime mortgages or the brokerage business. Lots of things that are dangerous and terrible, that are very risky, horribly risky. In my view, farming in the next 30 years is going to be extremely attractive, and finance is going down the tubes. We've had long periods, Green Meadow, in history when the financial people were in charge, and then we've had long periods when the producers of real goods were in charge. It's probably unbelievable to you, but the 50s, 60s, and 70s, Wall Street and the City of London were backwaters. I mean, the City of London was a wasteland. So was Wall Street in those periods. Then we had the big bull market starting in 1982, and now everybody is starting a hedge fund in his dorm room in the Ivy League. Whereas in my day, nobody wanted to go into finance. So we're having a reversal. In 1958, America graduated 5,000 MBAs. The rest of the world had none. Now, America's producing 200,000 MBAs, and the rest of the world has tens of thousands too. Huge competition at a time of staggering debts when governments are coming down hard on financial types. Rules, regulations, taxes, everybody is trying to beat up on banks, brokers, etc. So finance is going down the tubes. So if your great-grandfather were around now, I think he would have a different view. At least I have a different view of farming now, because I see great opportunities. But, Green Meadow, you're right. If you're going to buy a farm, you better buy a farm where it rains. Because if it doesn't rain on your farm, the other farmers are going to get rich, and you're going to go broke. But I cannot tell you how positive I am about agriculture for some of the reasons we've discussed before. But again, from my point of view, I own the agricultural products themselves because I'm not a farmer and I wouldn't be any good at it. But if there are more problems in agriculture and mining and the rest, which I expect, the prices of cotton and wheat and rice and everything else is going to go through the roof.
Yeah, I've actually seen articles of people who made money, with finances or stock market or whatever, are now investing in farming. But I've lived on farms in my life, and it'll take 2 or 3 years just to understand where the land floods, where the wind goes, just to understand the land. And I can't imagine, a financier buying acreage to invest in farming and being very successful.
Yeah, that's why I own the stuff itself. I know I know I wouldn't be any good at it. I mean, even if I married you, you did the farming. Doesn't sound like either one of us would be any good at it. So I'm sticking with the real stuff itself.
Wow. But have you noticed, at least it seems to me, that the weather has been very strange. And so even where it normally rains, it's not raining.
There's no question that throughout history, we've had some huge changes in weather. The geologists and scientists are always pointing this out. They cut down trees and they look at the rings, or they cut into glaciers. And they see there's been huge climate change throughout history. So it's not unusual that climate is changing. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know. But if it's changing, I know it's good for agriculture for many of the reasons that you've mentioned. So, again, I cannot tell you how bullish I am on agricultural products. If I haven't made myself clear, let me try again. Buy yourself, an agricultural index, or good farms, or good farmers, or good companies that are involved in the agricultural business. If you don't want to be a farmer yourself, buy yourself lake houses in Iowa or Oklahoma, or get the Lamborghini dealership in Nebraska. The stockbrokers are not going to be driving Lamborghinis anymore. They're going to be driving taxis. The smart stockbrokers will be driving tractors for the farmers who are going to be driving Lamborghinis. So get yourself the Lamborghini dealership in Omaha or Sioux City or someplace. Or as I said, send your kids to agricultural school. There are many ways to play this.
Yeah, I think people who know what they're doing with growing food are beginning to become more and more valuable.
Absolutely. At least I've made myself clear to you.
Yes. Thank you.
That's a good point. Where was your farm?
I'm living in Oregon right now, but I also lived in Colorado and mostly have had horses and that kind of thing. But just dealing with wind and rain and mud and where you put your barn and that kind of stuff. No.
Well, you're learning some of the basic lessons. And you're right. Yeah. You got to know what you're doing or you're going to go bust. Well, I'm not a farmer. That's why I'm buying futures.
Yeah, and that makes it – I wasn't understanding that you were buying futures versus buying into the farm, and so that clears it up for me.
Well, I'm a director of a company which is buying land in Brazil and fixing it up and getting farmers to farm it. But my own portfolio is agricultural commodities.
That makes sense. Thank you.
But not horses, Green Meadow. Not horses.
What they eat is called green stuff. It's called money.
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like you're a rich farmer, so somebody should marry you. But no, I'm not going to go out into the fields. I'm not any good at it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Green Meadow. Before we do our final question, just wanted to double check with Jim. You were not proposing to Green Meadow, were you, by any chance?
No. I'm sure I know she's rich just from listening, but no, I'm not. That was not a proposal.
Fantastic. That's great because I saw Green looking up some Mandarin instructor courses. Okay, our final question is from Rita. Mr. Rogers has built a career on knowing when to buy. If the American people are beginning a second lost decade, what should Americans with income and assets be doing, and what should young Americans with no income or assets be doing?
Well, young Americans with no assets or income should be moving to Asia, and first they should move to Asia and follow their own passions. If they love agriculture, they should become farmers. If they don't love agriculture, but they love finance, they should go into the financial markets, even though I see a bleak future there. I went into the financial markets in the middle of, very depressing times for finance. I went to Wall Street in 1964. 1964, a big day on the New York Stock Exchange with 3 million shares. Now they do 3 million shares before they wake up in the morning. The computer's already done 3 million shares. So it was a very bad time to go in finance, but I loved it. And so I did okay. So first they have to figure out their passions. Then they should go to Asia and pursue their passions. If I were there, and I would learn Chinese while I'm in Asia pursuing my passions. People with money should learn about investing abroad. They should learn about real assets. Everybody should have some of his money out of his or her own country, no matter what his or her own country is, as an insurance policy, if nothing else. Everybody has fire insurance. Well, you hope you never use your fire insurance. You hope your house never burns down. Look at your own country, whether it's Germany or Australia or America. Look at it the same way. Have some of your assets outside of your own country as an insurance policy, especially in the next couple of decades in the world I foresee, and learn about real assets. Because if I'm right, with all the currency debasement that's going to be going on, plus the fundamentals for commodities, which are very, very sound, very positive, supply is down, demand is up. you're going to have huge fortunes made in commodities. By the way, in the 1970s, stock markets and economies around the world were in the tank. Very little money was made in stocks, but commodities had one of the great bull markets of all time. So even if world economy goes bad, you can still make a fortune in commodities, or at least in the past you've been able to make fortunes in commodities, even when economies and stock markets in trouble.
We have just spoken with Jim Rogers at jimrogers.com. Thank you for your time tonight, Jim. Writer and management consultant Peter Drucker once said, "Long-range planning does not deal with future decisions, but with the future of present decisions. Each one of us is responsible for the future by making the right decisions now. And Jim, your information, which melds basic skills with a basic system of values to use those skills, is helping many people take control of their own future through good old-fashioned thinking for themselves. On behalf of Fox and all the members of the WebBot Forum, thank you, sir. In our tradition of pie loving and pie making, may you and your family have many pies to come."
Thank you, Jules. Thank all of you. It was great fun.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, very good. Well, I've had fun. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks much.
Yeah, bye-bye.